Hi, we're back with this week's installment of the Devotional series for the Agon Sports Ministry Institute. I'm Chris Levette. This is Greg Linville. Today we're continuing and finishing up our study in 1 Corinthians, and Greg's going to jump into that.
We've brought you all the way through this passage where Paul is helping people understand a way, a philosophy, if you will, of becoming all things to all people, that he might reach some for Jesus. And he's even given us now this methodology that we can use, meaning sport. And he's talked about that everybody runs, all the athletes do. Some are going after the perishable crown, others are going after, hopefully you and I are going after the imperishable crown that'll last forever. And we don't just run aimlessly. That's where we were last time. We don't just run aimlessly, but we run with a purpose. You need to get a vision and a mission and a strategy for your ministry and for your personal life. And a latter part of that verse that we read last time, I'll read the whole thing, begins to move us in a little different directions. So I do not run aimlessly, last week, in the same verse now. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, thus after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. Now we said in this devotional series and throughout the Agon Institute courses, you're going to get every Bible verse, all the major passages that deal with athletics and all the words. This is going to help you today get down that road a little further. Chris, in our town, we have what's called a civic center. And the civic center is where lots of the big events happen.
Yeah. The
semi-pro teams and some of the professional teams play there. The circus comes in, all kinds of things. But it was, I believe, in 1911 that Billy Sunday came on that spot in our town to bring his crusade to town. So 104 years ago, I believe, he came to our town when that was nothing but dirt. It was country. It's hard for us to envision that today.
Yeah. But
Billy Sunday was a professional baseball player who had converted to Jesus Christ and became a world evangelist. Spoke to more people, it's estimated, more people about Christ than anybody ever has. Now, Billy Sunday, people don't know, held the stolen base record for the major leagues longer than did Ty Cobb.
Wow.
That's the kind of athlete he was. Christ got a hold of his heart. He went into ministry, began to preach. And when he came to Canton, when he exited out of baseball, he began to work for the YMCA. At that point, particularly, still in some individual wise, like our dear friend Mike Brown out there in Illinois, very Christian, after people for Christ, doing exactly what this passage was. Billy Sunday was walking through the Y in a three-piece suit and saw a guy shadowboxing. And he said, "You need somebody to go against." And the guy said, "Jump on up here." Billy took off his suit coat, left his vest on and his suit pants, and got into the ring. This guy knocked him down 3 or 4 times. And Billy Sunday said, as he climbed out of the ring, he said, "You must be pretty good." He was the welterweight champ of the world. Billy said, "Okay, I'm a little bruised and bloody, but I jumped into your ring, now come jump into mine." He said, "Well, what's yours?" He says, "It's uptown here. It's up there in the temple that I've built. Come." He said, "Oh, no, my wife does that." This guy that was shadowboxing was now afraid to come get in Billy's after he had knocked him senseless. But you know what, Chris? The neat part of that story is that he did. He went up to Billy's crusade in his tabernacle, knelt before Christ, ended up becoming Billy Sunday's personal masseuse, and he himself became then an evangelist, trained at Moody Bible Institute.
Awesome.
Right there in the town that you lived in.
Wow.
But the shadow boxing that Billy saw this guy he said, "Here, I don't box as one beating the air. I don't just play at it, but," he says, "I discipline my body. I bring it under control." And a couple of the Greek words here, you're going to recognize this if you're a boxing fan. Punctuo. where we get pug. You know, that if you're a pug, you're a boxer. You're pugnacious, meaning you've got that fighting spirit in you. And so he uses, again, the athletic words here for this combat or this boxing. And he says that I bring my body under control. This is a compound word in the Greek, hupopiazzo. Now, op, what does that mean? You know, an eye doctor.
Yeah.
Optician, optometrist. So it says hupopiazzo. It is that that hupo meaning under the eye. So if a boxer can get right up under the eye, they control. They bring that other person under their control. So this is another Greek athletic word that says, I'm going to, in the realm of boxing, I'm going to control you because I can get close enough that I can deliver this knockout punch under the eye. Now, we can't just say that what we're doing here is having a, what would you call it, an apologetic for boxing. That comes in another area, all right? But that in this sense, we get what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to bring it under control. And then the last Greek word here, Chris, is the word for having preached, having announced, the keruxos. The keruxos is the announcer that goes out in front of all the stadium. You remember in first century they didn't have PAs.
Yeah.
This person was just a loudmouth, and he would go out and say. And you know what he always said? He always introduced, like you introduced us as Dr. Linville teaches the course. He would say, "Here is the runner or the boxer or whatever from whatever, and his father is." And we are to announce who our Father is.
Yeah.
And so this whole athletic passage says that we can be disqualified, that we might be rejected if we don't live our lives in such a way that I'm not just beating the air, I'm not just running aimlessly, but that I'm really going for something positive here. The higher calling of Jesus Christ. A personal relationship with Christ, that I bring myself under control, all my passions, all my desires, all my fleshly temptations, I bring them under control so that I can get that crown that lasts forever, the person that we're going after.
Yeah, and I think that this is something too that you can really apply to your own sports ministry. Personally, it brings me great joy and encouragement that all of you people are taking this course and want to further your own sports ministry or start your own, because this is a great building block for that. Because one of the ways that I would, I guess, envision shadow boxing the air in a sports ministry is thinking by simply playing a sport, people are going to show up and people are going to be ministered. And one of the greatest things that I love about this course is it's building that theological foundation in you guys, the sports ministers, so that you can actually have your vision and execute your mission, so that you can actually, impact the world for the gospel.
And so as we talked about in our first lesson, not our first devotional, but our first week's lesson about our three-tier paradigm, the theological truth, the philosophical principles, and the methodological models. We're trying to give you, as Chris said, the theological foundations for which you can develop your philosophies, out of which your methodologies will emerge. All right, Chris, this is our 7th time, and we're going to come back in our 8th devotional. We're going to switch to another passage, one of the largest ones, and that is Hebrews chapter 12, that we're going to be talking about all the witnesses that surround us. So hope that you'll continue on in the course, persevere, keep going. We're about halfway through this first course. Let's finish it together.
See you next time.